Hello to all my people, and if you're watching live, checking us out on YouTube, or listening on your favorite podcast provider, you are most definitely my people. Welcome to another episode of Botched and Share Shots. We still have high hopes of delivering quality wrestling content, and if not, we'll sprinkle in indie stars. You know, so we still get over. I'm your host, a chef by trade and a mark by choice. I am the Will Gray, and joining me tonight, this one has been a work in progress, but he's here. The king of tea, a pro wrestler, a commentator, a ring announcer, a referee, on top of being a reigning and defending champion. He is Theo Ivory. Theo, how are you? Thanks for coming on and chat about some wrestling.
How are you? Sorry to the viewers, I am not high. I'm just a little sleepy. My sleep schedule has been real awful lately, so I just kind of recently woke up. So
It wouldn't be a problem if you are. Just throwing that out there.
that's true. I wouldn't complain if I was either, but I just wanted to clarify that. I'm a professional.
I always start this conversation kind of the same way. Kind of a roundabout way of how you ended up getting into pro wrestling. Just in general, just an overlooking view of how your career got started.
Long story short, my mom died when I was young. I was flipping through channels. The 2000 King of the Ring was on. I was 9 years old. I was like, what is this? And ever since I was 9, I was captivated by pro wrestling, particularly the women. And I always said, I want to be a pro wrestler. I want to be a pro wrestler. And, you know, life happens and someone says, hey, I know this wrestling school. You might want to check them out. Go through that and life happens. And then you said, you know what? Life's too short. This is my dream. I'm going to freaking do it.
So when you first started training, I know that you did some, early on you you were part of the Making the Monster Challenge. I want to make sure I kind of get the timeline right, correct?
Wow.
You had a chance.
Did your research.
I pride myself. I try to take this as you said. You're a professional.
Wow.
I try to be a professional as well. You had a chance to work a little bit at the Monster Factory recently. King of the Ring, or not King of the Ring. I'm sorry. Royal Rumble was just this past weekend. Damian Priest was in that match. Huge part of Judgment Day. What was it like for you when you had a chance to work with him? Because he was one of your coaches, correct? Am I right?
Yeah. And I'm actually glad you brought that up because one of the things that he said to us, so this was around the time when Triple H was running NXT. They were about to do the Cruiserweight Classic. So NXT was like a really, really big deal. And he, you know how we have locker room meetings and stuff. And he said to us, he says, I'm probably never going to make it because I think he was in like his mid-30s at the time. So he was like, yeah, I'm not going to make it. I'm past that point. Mind you, this is before AJ Styles got there. So like, he's like mid-30s. He was like, yeah, I'm not going to make it. I'm past that point. I've passed the point of where I could get signed, And to see that he not only did get signed, but just to see like where he's gone with that it's mind blowing. It's mind blowing. And he's an amazing human being on top of that. So it's really rewarding to see good things happen to a good person.
Looking into your training a little bit, when you work with guys like that and you go through the schools and you work with Damian Priest, you transitioned over at one point and you were with the CZW school. What's it like when you transition around training from person to person? Are you just kind of adapting as you go and taking what you can from each person you're training with or having coach you?
So first it wasn't a transition.
Okay.
I was only at the Monster Factory for 3 months and then
Oh.
I left. In 2016 because I wanted to start a family. I wanted to get married. And I was like, there's no way I'm going to be able to do that constantly on the road. So I only had 3 months of training. So in those 3 months, I learned how to run the ropes, how to bump, how to chain wrestle. And I think that was it in those 3 months because Monster Factory is really big on building blocks So they start you with the basics, and then once you've got the basics, they move you up to the next level. So I was still very new. I only had 3 months of training and practice. So it was 3 months late, 3 years later, excuse me. My best friend Nevaeh Chantel, who was at the Monster Factory, we met at the Making the Monster Challenge, and she was doing CZW Dojo Wars. She was like, "Hey, I know you want to get back into wrestling. I think you'd really like CZW. Come check it out." So I lost a cousin, and I was like, you know what? Life is short. Let me go check out Dojo Wars, and everyone there was just so welcoming. It was really great walking into there. And to really answer your question, I learned this concept at the Monster Factory, and I learned it at CZW. Everywhere you go, there's going to be a different style. Someone is going to teach you the same thing a different way. And you don't say, oh, Danny Cage said it. This is how it goes. DJ Hyde says this is how it goes. Jimmy Rave says this is how you do it. You don't do that. You do it the way the coach teaches you. And then when you're in their class, you do it their way. When you go to DJ Hyde's class, you do it his way. If you go to Danny Cage's class, you do it Danny Cage's way. So that's really the long and short of it.
It's one of my favorite questions to ask anybody in the wrestling world because when I first heard it, I said it makes perfect sense. And that's the old homage of you take certain pieces of your real life and you turn it up to 11. So when you step out of that curtain and you go into the ring, what do you turn up to 11 out of your everyday life?
Um, so when I recently, it's so weird because, of course, we get booked for multiple promotions. So it's not like WWE, AEW, Impact, where you're just this one person. One promotion, you might be a heel. Another promotion, you're a baby face. So I'm going through that right now where, you know, the one promotion where I'm booked at every month, I recently turned babyface. But I was a heel for a long time. And the thing I loved about that is there are things you want to say, but it's not politically correct. It's not socially acceptable. But in that character, you get to say whatever you want. If there's like so many times I want to say, oh my God, you are so stupid. Oh my God, you're a dumbass. Like there's so many things I want to say to people, but I can't. But when I get to be a heel, I'm like, oh, I get to say whatever I want, and I get to be as obnoxious as I want, and I get to be as ridiculous as I want. And as a baby face, which is kind of more, it's weird. One day I'm this, one day I'm that. It's like flipping a coin. My baby face side, I love people. I'm an introvert, but I love people as well. So getting to hug people in the crowd and getting to interact with them and, hug them and make them happy. Um, that makes me so happy. So two sides of the coin.
So we've already brought it up just a little bit. We were kind of talking about it on before we hit the record button, and I made a joke and said that it's easier to get people to hate you than it is to love you, and you kind of said not anymore. So I said, hold that thought. Let me hit the record button. Now I'm going to ask again. Do you think in 2023 it's easier to get people to hate you than it is to get you to love them? Or you get what I'm saying? I think I fumbled it a little
Yeah,
bit, but you're gathering it.
I think it's much easier to get people to like you now because, the Me Too movement with COVID, a lot of negativity in the wrestling business was exposed. So it's like, before that, people could work a heel gimmick on Twitter 24/7. And I was like, oh my God, brother, this guy's always in character. This guy's always working. He's a genius. Nowadays, it's like, dude, knock it off. You're not in the ring. Like, just knock it off. Like, knock it off. Like, the world has gone to shit as it is. We don't need this. Knock it off. So, I think people are more looking for or looking to gravitate more to positive energy, people who are light these days in a world of darkness. Um, so yeah, it's much easier to just be a good person these days because it's like we've had enough of people being assholes. Just be nice.
Well said. I mean, that's honest. I mean, life's not hard. Wear deodorant. Don't be an asshole. Brush your teeth. Like, it's pretty
Yeah,
straightforward,
wash
right?
your ass. Wash your ass and wash your gear.
Yeah, wash your gear. I hear that one a lot. Is it really that big of an issue? Is there that many guys that don't wash their gear? You don't have to name names. Like I said,
Yeah,
we're not here
yeah, it
to.
is.
It's
It is, and then it's hard. I can even say it because sometimes I after a match, you sweat a lot, and then I think people don't realize how much sweat like standing next to a person after they get out of a match, they may smell perfectly fine, but the sweat gets into the fabric, and then that's what produces the smells, and then you don't really smell it until you put it in the gear bag, and then it's like you open the gear bag and it's like, whoa.
smells like clothes you left in a washing machine too long, right?
Yeah, yeah,
um,
not a good smell.
so you've had a chance to wear gold. In territory wrestling as far back in the 50s, 60s, 70s, winning those territory titles and the independent titles, they were huge. Like, territory champions were the next in line for the NWA champions. In 2023, independent wrestling looks very, very different. But how did it feel when you got that call and they were like, Theo, we're going to put the strap on you. You're going to be you're our person now. Let's run with it. What was that like for you?
Whoa. Um, so the two titles I held in 2022, um, one was a tag title and the other was a world title. Um, the tag title was cool. Um, it didn't resonate with me as much because I was like, okay, yeah, we're British heels. It's a no-brainer to put us together. That was kind of like it was a given. It was written. Um, the world title though was like a what? I honestly said to myself, I'll never be a world champion, and I'm okay with that. So when they were like, yeah, this is gonna happen, I was nervous. I was like, what? I even talked to like a few of my coaches, Nate Carter, Gabby Gilbert, Dave McCall. I was like, they're gonna put the strap on me. Like, I'm nervous. They was like, well, you earned it. What you're doing is working. So don't be nervous. Don't be scared. Just keep doing what you did to get you to this point.
So you brought up
It's
one
incredibly humbling.
humbling.
It's incredibly humbling to know that they want you to be a face of their company. Like that's, and I can't thank one division pro enough. We have two world champions, so I was the other. Um, so just to know that they want me to be one of the faces of their company was an incredibly humbling experience. And I knew it wasn't a handout. It was something like I had to work my ass off for, and it was my character work. And what I did in the ring. I'm not the best wrestler by far, but I'm really big on storytelling. So I think that's really what resonates a lot, especially in the indie scene where it's like spot, 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 super kick, Canadian destroyer, 630, 450, dive, dive, dive. Oh wait, here comes another dive. Wait, stand up, catch my stunner. Oh wait, don't go down, don't sell, get back up. You gotta take my cutter, brother.
Well said.
I don't do that. I don't do that shit. I'm a big proponent of storytelling, and I think that's really what helped me and really separated me from the pack and everyone else.
Do you like to walk and talk? Do you call a lot of spots like as you're in the ring, or like you just said, you're not a big high spot person. You're not gonna go out. You're not gonna to run and gun. Do you like to walk and talk there? Are you gonna get out there and read the crowd, let you and whoever you're working with that night kind of tell the story as you go?
Um, it depends. It really depends on what the dynamic is. Um, recently, well, not recently, but within the last year, a big thing that I've learned, and it all has to go with becoming more comfortable as a worker, knowing your skill set, and of course, being in the business. I've been a wrestler now for 3 years. You just get more comfortable with it, so like if I'm a heel, I know I'm when. So sorry. So this is how I call a match now. I call the beginning, the cutoff, and the end. And and then we will call certain things like, okay, if there's like any big moves that we want to hit, we'll call that as well. So we know where to place it in the match. But I don't call every spot in the match. Um, I've been really grateful to have really great dance partners where we call certain things in there. Um, I've learned to not call the heat anymore, especially if I'm the heel. I was like, I won't call the heat. I'm like, just know, okay, this is the cutoff. When we go to the heat, literally just follow me, listen to me, because a lot of the move, I do a lot of, I'm really big on technical wrestling, so I do a lot of hold and submissions. So the beauty of putting someone in a hold and a submission is not only you get to catch your breath, but you get to talk to your opponent and say like, all right, hey, got you in here. All right, I need you to work up. I need you to work up. All right, give me 2 shots. I want to take it back down. And then, or you say, all right, work up, work up, work up. All right, then we're gonna go back to your comeback. Things like that. So it's a combination. It's a fusion of calling the match, but then also saying we're gonna call some stuff in the ring, depending on the crowd reaction and the pacing and things. Um, and then you have some people, like one guy, Nico Gray. He and I don't have to call anything. We can just go in there and have a 7, 8 minute match and just talk to each other the whole time. And he's autistic.
That's fantastic. Not fantastic, but I love hearing success stories when people can just blend together. The chemistry in the ring is such a huge part of it.
Yeah.
You've mentioned working at various places, various territories, however you want to look at it. You've got your partner who you're working with, you've got the ref, you've got the crowd, you've got the booker who's helping you write the story that's going on. You've been in multiple seats throughout this puzzle piece. You've been a wrestler,
Yeah.
you've been a ref, you've been a fan in the crowd. You know what I mean? You've held so many seats in this.
I've been a
Um,
ring announcer and I've been a commentator.
Absolutely. You see what I mean? You're, you've worn many hats in the wrestling business. How do you adapt? What's it like knowing? Because some nights you might be booked as a ring announcer or a commentator, but other nights you're working. You've done ring work with, ref work with CZW. We're about to get to that. But like, what's it like? How do you adapt and stay on the fly so quickly?
So first, I don't do ring announcing anymore
Okay.
because when it comes, so companies will put out like feelers like, hey, ring announcers, we need, send your resume, send your information. We need a ring announcer. I don't reply to those because I know my primary role is a wrestler. And I don't want to take an opportunity from someone whose primary role is a ring announcer. I don't feel like that's fair because they can't wrestle. They're not there to wrestle. If it's up to me, I would rather wrestle. So that was in the beginning of me being at CGW because in Dojo Wars, which is the student program, you have to do almost everything. And so I was doing ring announcing and commentary while I was training. And then after like 3 months of training, they were like, "Oh yeah, yeah, good. You can have matches now." So they started to phase me out. of commentary and ring announcing, and then strictly wrestling. Um, but I decided to. So my first match I refereed was actually WSU. That was a huge honor. I got to ref two matches. Um, Huge honor, but I decided I wanted to referee because um, I think I did it one time, and I was like, I kind of like this. And a person that really inspired me was Jackie Moore, WWE Hall of Famer. She really inspired me because she was literally an active WWE competitor. But on any given day, she'd either be in a match or she'd be a referee. And I'm one of those people that says, why do I have to just be one thing? Why can't I do it all? So, to give a direct answer to your question, um, if I'm refereeing, that's something like CZW. I referee for CZW. That's it. Like if I know I'm going there to ref. And I've gotten other referee gigs from because other promoters come to see our show, and they're like, "Yo, I want you to ref on my show," and I'm like, "Okay, that's perfectly fine. I get the same pay as I did if I was wrestling, and I don't have to bump." So, and I'm a worker, so as a worker, I think it's much you make a better referee because you know to not be in the guy's way. And you know what you hate that referees do in your match, so you don't do it. And I think that's made me a kind of like an A plus referee because I studied Charles Robinson growing up. Um, yeah, Charles Robinson is my favorite WWE referee. Mike Chioda, like these are guys that I studied growing up. Just watching. And I'm a visual learner, so it just like got embedded in my brain. And yeah.
So that was that's a great segue. I had another question. One, are you a film person? Like you just answered it. You like to watch film as a ref, but who are guys you like to watch film on to kind of adapt to help innovate your style?
Um, I hate this question. Chris Benoit. Chris Benoit. Yeah. Growing up, I loved Benoit. I just did. It was his matches and his series of matches with Chris Jericho. I just found so good. It was so entertaining. The clash of styles, and then to me, he was always a firecracker. I called him a firecracker because he was on the shorter side, but you would never know it with his intensity and his striking, and oh, he was just so good. So yeah, I loved watching. Growing up, I loved watching Chris Benoit. I loved watching Kurt Angle. The holds, the transitions. I also love William Regal because William Regal and Chris Benoit are really good with like being gritty, having like that little bit of a mean streak and the intensity. So of the male wrestlers, that's who I enjoyed watching. But I don't care about the men. I care about the women.
Who are your favorite female competitors then? Your favorite women wrestlers?
Number one's Lita. Number one.
Rockstar. Can't go wrong with that pick. Solid pick.
Yeah, number one. Of course, love Trish Stratus. Love Trish Stratus. I love Molly Holly.
I think she's underappreciated. Molly Holly was one of those women, in my opinion. She was the quintessential example of why WWE at certain points has needed a mid card title for the women's division. Because Molly Holly would have been the perfect female intercontinental champion or whatever they'd have decided to make it out to be. She would have been the perfect representation of that.
Exactly, because this is because she's what I call the glue. You don't need and this she's also what I consider Natalia to be, the glue. Like you don't need an outlandish character. You don't need larger than life. You don't need a sex symbol. Sometimes you just need that woman who what she's good at is what she does in the ring. And that's it. because at the end of the day, it's all about the wrestling.
So I've got a couple more questions. This one is just for fun, and it was when I was doing my research. I was going through your social media. You interacted with. You had a chance to work with stars from everywhere, Hit Row, everything like that. This is a super simple question, but it might be loaded. What's your
Okay.
wildest story from 2022?
Wale Mania.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, Actually, no, I don't even want, let me not say Wale Mania. Let me say Mania Week. It was just incredible. It was so amazing because there were people that I got to meet and work with before they got signed, like Thunder Rosa. Her and I worked a show, which was, I think, her last and one of her last independent shows before she got signed with AEW. So to then see her again 3 years later, it was like, oh my gosh, hi. And, I don't call her Thunder Rose, I call her Melissa. Like, that's how she introduced herself to me. I was like, oh my God, Melissa, it's so good to see you again. And, for people like that to remember you because they work with so many people. And 2019, I was nothing. I was nobody. Like, I was just like there. So that, oh my gosh, like you remember me, like that meant a lot. I got to see Rache Chanel, who I've known since 2016 when she was Raquel Vaughn. Um, I got to, of course, at the time they were the hit makers, but Hit Row, AJ Francis and I got acquainted when he was down in NXT. Then they got to call up, and then they got the unfortunate release. So he and I even got more acquainted. We got more, the brotherhood built more over that time. So to, see them at the collective was great. Trick Williams at NXT, he and I trained at CZW. So that was the first time I got to see him since he had gotten signed. Joe Gacy at NXT was one of my coaches. So that was my first time seeing him since he got signed. So it was just a huge reunion. Um, I got to see Jordan Grace again. I was there for her body positivity shoot in Tampa. So I got to see Jordan Grace again. So many people like you interact with online that you didn't really get to see because of COVID, and then you get to meet them in person, and it's like, oh my God, so good.
All right,
It
Theo.
was just
Oh,
great time, great time.
it sounds like you had one hell of a year. Like you just rattled off a who's who of the wrestling business for 2022, and it's not like I said. It sounded like a party. When I was going through looking at it, I was like, "There's no way I'm going to be able to ask all these questions in 30 minutes."
Oh, wait, no, sorry. Wait, I gotta add this in. Um, so I have a video that went like did some crazy numbers, and it was a video of me and Omas. And I was like, he came upstairs in the VIP area, and I was like, hey, I'm with CCW. I have my own web series. You mind if we film like a little segment? He was like, yeah, what do you want to do? And I was like, I'm a heel, so I'm like, I want to like, poke at you, and I have a drink in my hand. I want you to like grab my hand and give me that look like you're about to fuck me up. And then I'm gonna be like, okay, okay, I'm sorry. I kind of got a little, and that was so much fun because you could see the not everyone is in on the joke. So you could see like Trey Shaw, he's in the back, like, oh, and it was just so fun. Getting to shake hands with MVP, someone I've respected for so long. We have the Black Wrestlers Brunch, which is an annual event that we do. Um, so, Swole was there again. That's my baby. I love her. But Cedric came this time. Cedric wasn't able to make it in Tampa, but Cedric came this time. Um, for those who don't know, Cedric Alexander, her husband. So it was just so amazing. And then for everyone to just be in good spirits, Indy Hartwell was there, Gigi Dolan, Grayson Waller, um, Cameron Grimes, and we're just all in the mix. drinking, having good vibes. And Tasha Steele's my girl. I worked with Tasha on CZW, and at the time she was the Impact World Women's Champion. So just to see like people that you came up in the business with elevated to such a level, yep, not gonna cry.
I love like that excitement in the business. Like I know like the whole it's still real to me, damn it, but like when you see people in the business and you see the emotions and the the relationships they build, it's still very 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 real. Like you just seeing you get so excited about your experiences and it says everything people need to know.
Yeah, and I'm sorry. Like you said, the answer was going to be loaded, and it was because it was so many people. We see so many people all the time, but very rarely, because of distance, where we are, we may not get to see them for a long time. And then in that time, they've either just elevated their character, their work, they've gotten signed. So just to see them again, and in this business, when a lot of us are genuinely happy for each other. Like it's not a oh this bitch gonna sign. They're like no, we're genuinely happy for each other because the fact that you got signed says that I can too. Says that it's real. It says that it's possible. So we're so happy for each other and just to hug each other and embrace each other like bitch I see what you do and I'm so happy for you. Oh, so happy for so many people, man.
All right, Theo. I close all of my interviews with 5 random questions, most of them not having anything to do with wrestling. I got yours queued
Okay.
up. You ready?
Yeah.
What's your favorite food?
Lobster mac and cheese.
It's a hell of an answer. What's your favorite movie?
Adventures in Babysitting.
Never seen that one. Put it on the
The
list.
original from the 80s with Elizabeth Shue, not the remake bullshit they did in like 2018 on Disney. Ugh.
The original.
The
Who is your favorite musical artist or performing group?
Janet Jackson.
Another solid pick. I'm a Wu Tang guy. Wu Tang and Biggie, East Coast hip hop.
Oh yeah,
I
that's
grew
a
up on
good
the
one. That's a
'90s hip
good
hop.
one.
I always plug that. I'm very proud of the fact that I grew up on '90s hip hop. uh,
Same.
what is your favorite venue you've had a chance to wrestle in?
I would say Knights of Columbus. It was I no, I'm sorry, no. Hall of Fame Studios in Jamaica, New York, because it's my hometown.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
That's always
So
fun.
I never thought the promotion in that area is Hog, House of Glory. And I've never got to work with Hog. So to know that there's another promotion in my hometown, Jamaica, New York, which is in Queens, I was like, whoa, hell yeah. Hell yeah.
Final question: who is your favorite superstar growing up?
Lita.
Easy. All right, Theo, this is my favorite part of the episode. I don't have to say anything or do anything. I just tell you to plug your stuff, put yourself over, and tell everybody what you got going on in the near future.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Wow. So upcoming on, I think it's February 5th. Huge CZW. Leo Rush is returning. So that's going to be freaking amazing. Havre de Grace, Maryland. Guys definitely want to be there. Um, Sorry, there's so much stuff. There's so much stuff. For those of you who don't know, I am a two-time author. My first book is a children's book. It teaches little girls of color to love their natural hair. It's called Amina the Queen. Last year, I put out my second, no, 2021, I put out my second book, which is called Something's Gotta Give, Daily Affirmations and Declarations for Happiness and Healing. So it's a book of daily affirmations. Each page has its own affirmation on it, and it's formatted in a journal style. So you can kind of write your thoughts, your feelings, your emotions, your experiences, whatever, on that page as it pertains to that particular affirmation. I recently just opened my own Etsy store, which is really amazing. It's called Theo's Tea Shop. So if you're on Etsy, Look up Theo's Tea Shop. I have all my books on there, and I'm also transitioning my merch, which are my shirts on there. Instagram and Twitter, it's at the THEE_ Theo Ivory. YouTube, look me up, Theo Ivory. I post all of my matches there, all of my tea time segments. And the best part is, if you go to my Instagram or my Twitter, the link in my bio, it takes you to a platform called All My Links. So you don't even have to remember all this stuff. All my links are housed there: Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, Etsy, merch store, YouTube, the books, all that are housed in one place, so you don't have to search all that. So I've got matches, I've got ref gigs coming up, and most importantly, I'm developing right now season 5 of Tea Time with Theo. It's going to have a really brand new look, and we're really taking it to the next level. So I'm so excited for 2023. I'm so excited.
Theo, I'm really hyped that you got to stop by, man. I was really glad to chat about some wrestling with you and spend some time with you this evening.
Thank you so much. Yes, the scheduling was a mother, but
I
we
think
made
it
it
was
work.
it was my turn, then it was your turn, and then it was my turn. It was like playing phone tag in 2023.
Yeah, it was tennis, and we finally nailed it. And I'm so happy we were able to do it. This was a great experience. I really enjoyed being here with you today. Thank you so much.
Excellent, Theo. Well, now as we close another episode of Botch Spots and Chair Shots, take a minute. Thank you for listening. Remind you to go wherever you do anything on the internet. Like, follow, subscribe, unsubscribe, then subscribe again. Leave a comment telling me how great I am or how terrible I sound. Either way, it helps the algorithm and it helps find new listeners. For the king of tea, Theo Ivory, I am the Will Gray. Thanks for stopping by and listening, my people.